Good morning. How's everybody doing? Good, good. How many people went on the Harborside Steep Hill Dark Heart tour? Pretty good? For how many people is it the first time you saw that many plants and seen the behind the scenes of a dispensary? Anybody? All right, welcome. Awesome. That's always that first moment. Can we all remember the first time we saw a sea of plants, or more than an eighth of cannabis in one place? Well, welcome to California, where really in many ways the birthplace of cannabis culture and cannabis cultivation. It's exciting to welcome you here. While it's been a rocky road in these first couple months of legalization, we do have adult use legalization, and everyone's working it out and figuring out how to really capture the opportunity here and also reduce the illicit market and make a market that can work for everybody. And so we're real excited to have you here with many of the top brands, top investors, and the regulators in California as well, who will be here to talk about kind of what's next, and to hopefully the conversations that come out of this week really have an impact on how all of this rolls out and grows into the future. And this is in many ways some of the times that we've all been waiting for people who've been involved with Arcview and been involved in this sector for years. We're really just starting to see now some of the fruits of our labor. You know, when you invest in companies, when you invest in a sector, particularly people that were doing this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, you're doing so with a dream. You're doing so with the idea that maybe you have the right idea. But in the cannabis sector, it's not like the entire funding ecosystem has really been filled out. You know, we haven't really seen a ton of big acquisitions and things yet. And so you kind of have to plan. You say, hey, if this thing's growing at this rate, well then that's likely to happen. Then it's likely institutional capital is going to come in. It's likely these companies are going to be able to raise B rounds. It's likely they're going to be able to have big exits, but you don't know. And that is the dream and the excitement and what makes investing risky. And at the same time, every time we have one of these events, I think this is our 27th Arcview, there's always so much that happens in the few months in between our events. And in this time, I think more so than any other time, since the last time that we spoke, just in terms of companies that have been involved with Arcview and their big milestones. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but Tilray, which is part of Privateer Holdings, went public and is now valued at over $1.8 billion. Now, Privateer, who created Tilray, was one of Arcview's earliest members, and while they never, presented from stage, numerous people in our group have invested with them, and so we're congrats to those investors, and also to the Privateer folks for what they've been able to build and how to really lead the industry in that way, and showing just what's possible. Also, since we last spoke, Haiku Brands was acquired by Canopy in Canada. And Haiku, for those of you that aren't aware, is a merger between Doja and Tokyo Smoke. And about a year and a half ago, Tokyo Smoke was on this stage presenting a small startup cannabis brand in Canada for, I believe it was a $4 million pre-money valuation. And the X's on the end of that are astounding now as we look back and see what's happening up there. And that's what's happening north of the border. South of the border, a couple highlights. Green Bits, a company that came through here on their seed round, got over, I think it was over $17 million from Tiger Capital, which is a fairly well-known VC firm in Silicon Valley. That's probably the largest raise from a tech company in the in sort of the SaaS space in the cannabis sector. And then Forefront, who's been a sponsor, longtime, very early member, Forefront Ventures, closed about a $14 million round and announced plans to go public in Canada. So, and this is just a sampling. I mean, there's just so many others that are, and you're going to hear from a few later today that have really hit some big milestones along the way. But it's not all good news. What's happening in Arizona is a massive step backwards. A court ruled that concentrates are no longer legal, which is like an incredibly large part of the Arizona market. So we've got some serious fights there, and also this next one is kind of shocking, and it's a powerful reminder that we're not done yet. It seems as though Canadian citizens that are involved in the cannabis sector or even admit that they consume cannabis, when they cross the U.S. border, if the U.S. border officials know that in any way, we are hearing numerous reports, not universal, but numerous reports of Canadian citizens being denied entry for life to the U.S. In fact, some of our own members have been in that situation. And that's kind of crazy. And so this is a very big reminder that our job is not done yet. We still have a lot of way to go, and there is still real risk in this industry. And it's particularly challenging because, I'm a chair of the board of the Marijuana Policy Project, and the Marijuana Policy Project, at a time when we have all of this opportunity, and yet when things like this are still happening, had to make cuts to the staff at a time when the nonprofits should be adding staff, should be raising more money in order to accomplish our goals. I'm reminded of a Martin Luther King quote that I heard a few years ago from my friend Andre, and she forwarded this on, and it really stuck with me. And Facebook was lucky enough this morning to show it as a memory that I had posted this and forwarded this a few years ago, and it really made me feel like, oh, well, that's a sign. I should say this morning, and it's very pertinent. It's that change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. And for many people that are in the cannabis sector now, the many people that are in this room, you likely fall into two categories. Either you've been in this a while, and now it feels like we're smooth sailing compared to what it used to be. And so it feels like, all right, we got this going. Wind's at our back. This is feeling good. And for people who are new to it, probably have never been part of an industry that on some level is committing civil disobedience. So if you didn't think you were an advocate or an activist before, I sure hope you are now, because we've got a long way to go, but I think we're in the final innings. And so thank you for all the role that everybody's playing in helping to do that by creating profitable and principled businesses, and also hopefully considering how to continue to make change and to continue to make sure that people are not arrested for this plant. And around the entire world, there's still well above 90% of the world still lives in a place where they have to wake up in fear of their government for this plant. And millions and millions of people still do not have access to the medicine that they need. And it's the people in this room, it's you, who the world is looking to help solve that problem. So thank you for being part of that. I hope that while you're here today and for this week, we've got an incredible lineup for you. I want to remind people that, every great business decision you've made, every great personal relationship you've developed or business relationship, started by saying hello to somebody and offering something that or something way that you can help. And one of the things I love about what we've built here at Arcview is this incredible amount of camaraderie. And so when you see people that have, a new member tag on in particular, be sure to reach out and bring them in and talk to them about what they're up to. And also to just really consider this your place. That even if this is your first event, just assume you're the host. And make it your own. That's part of what makes Arcview so special. What else? What do we got here? We got, so we've been up to a lot. We've had over $190 million into over 180 companies that we know about at Arcview, right? Now, I know a lot of you have been making a lot of other investments that you haven't told us about. But please tell us about them so we can add them to this tally, because you guys are amazing. So thank you for that. And one of the things I'm really, really excited about and want to tell you about, one of the things we've got planned, is the is the release of the 6th edition of the State of Legal Marijuana Markets, which those of you who've pre-purchased it got your digital copies, and soon, in a couple of weeks, this is the proof of the 6th edition. Now, for those of you who've bought previous editions, I'm sure you can see from here that this one is a lot bigger. There was so much going on that we put in here, and then we're continuously making updates on the digital side of things. But it is a really amazing feat, and working with the team at BDS Analytics, we've really been able to put together data that's not been seen before, and data that will help you in your efforts over the next year. And as part of that, tomorrow afternoon at 2:30, we're going to have an extended session on the market research and the new data. And to give a little preview of, wait, where are we going here? You got me, Dave? Okay. There we go. So to give you a little preview of where we're going, I think I mentioned at the beginning, this is just a few of the slides, but Tom Adams and Roy Bingham will be going a much deeper into some of the category data, some of the insights data that's really going to drive the industry forward. But you can see, these are some adjusted California numbers as the transition has been a little bit rocky. So some of those are adjusted, but as you can see, the long-term future is just as good as it's ever been, because there is a great hope and that things are going to get ironed out in how people are adjusting to the regulations. But still a 20% compound annual growth rate in California. And then we start taking our attention to the rest of the world and look at the medical market across the world. What you see here is that North America sees a little dip in medical, mainly because of the transition into adult use, but then you see it kick up again, and then the rest of the world really starts to take off. And so one of the things we'll be hearing about over the next couple days, and one of the things we'll be talking about is what's happening in the rest of the world where there isn't this federal-state conflict. And while the U.S. remains the biggest prize in the cannabis marketplace, there's a lot of opportunity that's very different, and it's a little easier in some cases to get capital into around the world, and how that's all going to interplay with the reasonable likelihood that federal prohibition ends here in the next few years here in the U.S. And then the whole reason I got involved in this in the beginning was because I saw how horrible drug prohibition was, and I saw how having a prohibited market causes so many problems, and how by having a regulated market solves so many problems and brings so many benefits to society. And one of the great promises of legalization is that it reduces that illicit market. And you can see here that the most mature markets in our country that have had the longest time being legal markets have seen the largest reductions in their illicit markets. And so this is where we've got to go. And this is one of the most powerful things from a political standpoint that we can share with people, is to show how that changes. But it's also a warning to regulators too, which is that if you over-regulate this and you overtax it, then it doesn't compete with the illicit market. And so we've got to create win-wins here so that we can compete with the illicit market. That means making sure that there is increased access. That means in making sure that the regulatory and taxes actually fit. And it's also, frankly, about the development of products and developing new products, which Tom and Roy will dig into, is some of the new product categories and how they are spiking. And those are things that are unavailable on the illicit market in a lot of cases. And that's where brands come in, and that's where customer loyalty comes in. A lot of that stuff is going to continue to drive people out of the illicit market and into the regulated market. And many of the people in this room are helping to make that possible. So I hope you join us for that session at 2:30 tomorrow, where we're going to spend quite a bit more time really digging into that data. And clearly the most important thing I'm going to share today is the Wi-Fi password. And the reason it's the most important thing is because you'll be getting a chance to vote on companies and also review a lot of their materials today for the Best Pitch Prize. And that's all we're going to use that Wi-Fi password for, right? Because otherwise we're going to have like full attention on stage and in our conversations, right? We're not going to be like doing work here, right? We're not going to be like getting emails done here, right? Okay, good. Great. Well, that's how you access Breeze and are able to vote on the companies today. Also just want to let you know about our social media hashtags. You can hashtag Arcview, and we're at Arcview Group on Twitter. One thing to keep in mind, if you do want to share pictures, just get people, don't take pictures of people's financial slides, but feel free, like particularly when people are giving speeches, things like that, feel free to do that. Don't post video though. And just, use your judgment in posting it. But please tell the world about what we're up to. And lastly, I'll just kind of give a little disclaimer and just sort of setting the tone for the time here, which is that that we do our best to make sure that the people in this room are the right people in this room. But trust but verify, just like in any other business. This is a very, very exciting time. It's exciting to get excited about all that's happening, and it's easy to make really quick decisions. But I really want to encourage people to trust but verify, to make sure that you're looking under the hood of the investments that you're making or the investors that you're doing business with. Now, that's not to say that we shouldn't be a really great community and a trusting community, but it's very important to do that, particularly as this industry gets more and more exciting. It brings a wider range of people involved, and we want to make sure that everybody takes the proper steps to get the kind of tax advice and the kind of legal advice that they need to really move forward confidently in this sector. So that's one. And then the other is to be your most trustworthy self. That's one of the best ways that we can create a principled industry and an industry where people treat people well, is to be your most trustworthy self. And oftentimes that means, not overpromising, and just being clear about what people can expect from you, both on the company side and on the investor side. And that has partly what has made Arcview so fun over the years. And we've also got some really exciting people here. We've got Ricky Lake, award-winning television host and award-winning movie producer, who's going to be premiering her new movie, Weed the People. And we also have former RNC chair and current MSNBC pundit Michael Steele is here, going to be giving a keynote later today, as well as Lori Ajax, who's the chief regulator for California. And there's so many other really amazing, prominent people here that you'll get a chance to meet, and you'll be surprised. You'll introduce yourself to someone, you'll be like, oh, wow, okay. There's some really amazing people here, and I hope you get a chance to meet them all.